Hi guys, and welcome back to the Chasing Past Golf podcast. Where in this episode, I'm joined by LPGA Tour caddy Ryan Hilton, who is currently on the bag for the one and only Jenny Shin. Ryan, back home in Florida now, I believe, after an abrupt end to the Asian swing for yourself, which we'll go into in a little bit. But how's things for you, and how's things back home?
Everything's good. It was such a long travel back home that I actually kind of skipped out on jet lag. So I was up for so long that I was able to stay up until my regular bedtime, 8 p.m. and fell right asleep. And I've been, back to normal ever since.
Is it your second or third event with Jenny Shin?
So that was my third event, was Singapore. So I did one week in Australia with her and then 2 LPGA events with her. So I just finished up the third event.
Yeah, so there was an abrupt end to the Singapore event with Jenny unfortunately having to withdraw due to a fever, I believe. So obviously as a caddy, once your player has to withdraw and stuff, I take it, obviously, are you disappointed as well at times that you don't really get to finish? But at the same time, as long as your player is okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit situational. It's a no-cut event, so obviously you're going to be playing the weekend either way. And it really depends. And maybe if they're playing good, then you're disappointed because you were going to have a chance to, contend and be up there. If they were, at the bottom of the pack, then maybe you're like, oh, it's all right. We don't want to. It would have been, the same finish either way. But Jenny was starting to play good. So a little bit disappointing. I think we could have had a good weekend and moved up. But obviously, want her to do what's best for her body and her health. So that way, she can have a good, good season as the year goes on.
So as we speak, how's Jenny feeling and how's she keeping up?
I messaged her this morning, actually. She said today was the first day she felt, like she could walk around without being dizzy from, I think it's kind of like a flu that she had, fever and body aches and stuff like that. So she's starting to feel a little bit back to normal. So should be good in the next few days.
So now for yourself, you've got 3 weeks now to prepare for Arizona, where the tour goes back stateside. I believe it's a new course as well. Is that right? In Arizona as well. So I take it you always get excited for new courses.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can be excited being at the same course because you already know it and feels comfortable. But for me, I actually enjoy the challenge of learning a new golf course and kind of figuring it out. And so I look forward to a new golf course. Makes you work a little bit harder, which makes you feel like you're earning your pay a little bit.
Yeah, and the state of Arizona, were you there last year with Lacey Forster as well? Yeah, how was that, the state of Arizona? Is that a place that you enjoy?
The golf courses are great. As far as the state itself, it's not bad, but I'm a little bit claustrophobic there because there's just so much sand and desert. The only green grass is on the golf course, and I love, I grew up in the Midwest where, the grass is nice and soft. Living in Florida, the grass is not great. Yard grass is very, painful to walk on, very sharp, but, it's soft and fluffy there. And they usually overseed this time of year. So it looks kind of like northern, bent grass. But the area is nice. It's getting really busy and populated, because the weather is pretty good all year. But overall, good place.
So in the next couple of months, it's a little bit full tilt, with events and stuff. Is there any couple of events that really stick out for you that you're kind of looking forward to the most? I believe the US Open isn't far from where you originally grew up. Is that right?
Yeah, Erin Hills has played it numerous times in tournaments, and really excited to getting back there. It's about an hour from my house, so I know it pretty well. And then actually the week before it, we're actually going to play the new event in Mexico, and I haven't been to Mexico before, so it's always nice to check a new country off the bucket list.
So with the kind of insider knowledge of Erin Hills, like good or bad. You can give Jenny advice on where the fescue is or where the bunkers are. Obviously, you're trying to navigate that, but like all knowledge is knowledge at the end of the day. So I take it with you having that knowledge, it'll be useful to Jenny for that week at the US.
Yeah, I can tell her all the places to avoid, places I've been from personal experience. And then, sometimes the best places to miss is probably the most important thing for them because they don't miss a lot of fairways. And it's kind of a second shot golf course there. So wide fairways off the tee, which shouldn't be an issue for, any of the girls. And then it's really where you place your second shot. Like some of the greens are a little tricky. And if you get the wrong club, you got, nearly impossible up and downs on some holes. So that's the main thing is knowing where to miss it.
So compared with the carnage last year that was Lancaster, on a scale of Lancaster to Erin Hills, like what's the kind of difference in difficulty? Like, would you say Lancaster's more difficult or Erin Hills?
They're actually fairly similar. There's not a ton of trees on Erin Hills, just on the kind of outskirts. There's a few greens that are much smaller. I would say at Erin Hills, like number 9 is like a postage stamp. If you hit the green, you're doing really good. You're kind of picking, which bunker you want to hit it in, because it's so small. But very similar. There's quite a bit of elevation change at Erin Hills. You'll get some like drop offs in the fairways, elevated greens, a lot of mounding. So it's a very similar, just depending on what tees they play it from and how fast they get to greens, they can make it a very, very tough course for the ladies. If it gets firm, like any elevated green for a low spin player is going to be tough to hold. So a lot of strategy involved. And if it could play kind of linksy if it gets firm as well. It's kind of like an American links golf course.
And out of all of the other majors as well that you play, so 5 on the ladies tour, is there anyone maybe apart from the US Open that you really look forward to? So it could be, obviously you go back to Evian every year, or the rotation schedule of the AIG Women's Open, or it could be like I believe it's another new course as well at the KPMG this year as well in Texas. So like, is there anyone that stands out?
Yeah, I think just in general, the AIG is kind of, cool because like there's a lot more history in golf when we go over to the UK. So you get a lot of older golf courses. The men have played a lot of these courses, which is really cool. And that usually brings out more fans. But KPMG for the US is usually a really good event. They run it well, run by the PGA. And then this year being at Frisco, that's the PGA's new, headquarters, their new golf course. They had a tournament out there last year. I saw it looked like it was a pretty neat course, and they've got great facilities for it. So it should be a good week.
And do you class Evian as a major?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, you either love it or you hate it. It's, it is what it is. It's a kind of a tricky, quirky golf course on the side of a hill. So, you're going to get what you get. But I think if you're a good ball striker, like it doesn't really matter what the golf course is. Like if you can hit it to where you're trying to hit it, there's always a way, to get it close. I think people that aren't hitting it, how they want to or don't have control of it are never going to like that golf course. Or if they hit, like a low ball flight or a draw, like you're not going to hold the fairways there, and you're not going to be able to hold some of the greens, and you're going to be blocked out. So like as a caddy, it just, your week's going to depend on how your player's playing. If you got a good ball striker that can work it both ways, then you're probably going to have a great week. And you got someone that's not hitting it well, then it's probably going to be a long week, and you're going to be, having the weekend off, in Evian.
I mean, to be fair, there is plenty of places in the world that even if you miss the cut, I'm sure you can enjoy. I'm sure Evian's right at the top of the list, like with the views and stuff of Lake Geneva in the background. I mean, obviously as an outsider, like you see it on the TV and stuff, it looks amazing. But I imagine, like in real life, it's like even better than that. Like, but in terms of the scenery and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on Lake Geneva. Every year I usually there's a ferry you can take for, $20 to go across to Switzerland, to Lausanne. That's where like the Olympic Museum is, and we got some really good ice cream. Um, I don't usually spend a whole lot of time in the town of Evian. It's just like one of those weeks where, it's usually hot, there's no air conditioning, and it's all on the side of the hill. So you're kind of just walking everywhere, or you take the shuttle to one of the hotels, and then you walk to, one of the restaurants. So for me, I usually stay pretty close to, wherever my Airbnb is, and just walk, get something to eat, or just, take a baguette for lunch and bring it home for dinner. And that's kind of a simpler week for me versus, some of the other places, you'll explore a little bit more, and or maybe go play golf. Just depends.
And like on a scale of 1 to 10, that walk the whole week at Evian, like how hard is it? Like 100?
Um, Actually, I would say like there's other weeks that are tougher. Like Malaysia is probably tougher just because it's so hot and humid. Um, it's more, it's more of the like side slopes. Like it's kind of like, running in sand. Like you're using muscles in your feet and your calves that you don't normally use because you're walking on a side slope the whole time. So if you're in shape, it's not the end of the world. But if you're a little bit out of shape, then it's definitely not a enjoyable week.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I can just sense myself, even as a spectator, say, trying to navigate Evian. A little bit out of shape, I'm not gonna lie, but but I'm just imagining what that could be like. It'd be horrendous, to be fair, but no, that's fun, definitely. So so take it back to the start for you, because like obviously I believe you can, like in your own right, you can play golf to a semi decent level as well. So how did you kind of like become accustomed to the game of golf? Like how did it start for you? Obviously, being another from Erin Hills probably helps, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, like so my dad was like a big fisherman, and then when I was born, it was a lot harder to go fishing with a newborn. So he would just put me in the, stroller, and take me to the driving range, and I would just watch while he hit golf balls. And then when I was like 2, he made me like a little club, and he said the first swing with it, I hit it, like 40 yards in the air, and he's like, wow. So basically just started golfing with him. Most of the time, like when we were kids, like he would take a pull cart, and my sister and I would go climb trees while he played. And then we'd hit a shot or two and get tired. And then we just kind of hang on to the pull cart, and he would pull us around. And then just kind of as I got older, I was always kind of small for my age. I was a late bloomer, I would say. So golf was one of the sports where size didn't matter as much. Like I could hit it short, but I could still score. Whereas like basketball and baseball and football, like I'm getting overpowered and, outsized. So it felt like I could compete at it. I played everything, but golf kind of gave me the competitive edge. Like I was short, but I could hit straight. And then my short game was good because I always had to get up and down for par because I couldn't reach the par four. So it was something that I think I really enjoyed because it was so challenging, but I could also, compete with people that were bigger than me and older than me.
Yeah, like I find it quite interesting. You've just mentioned there that the first ever time you hit a golf shot at two was 40 yards. Like that's mental.
Yeah. 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 He said I had a really good swing, and he was jealous. So, that was the last time he ever took. No, I'm just kidding.
Is he still jealous of your golf swing now?
No, no, he's living vicariously through me. So like he doesn't play much golf anymore. So like he loves seeing my golf swing videos or watching me play.
Yeah, so I take it like you just mentioned there, obviously about like some of the other stuff that you enjoy playing as well. Um, out out with golf, if there was like one of the other ones, like I know you mentioned size and stuff there, like obviously outpowered and stuff, but if there was the chance to go into another sport, what would be the main one?
I think I really enjoyed basketball, but being small, like I felt like I didn't get a lot of playing time, so it kind of made me resent it. But like baseball was another one. I think I was hand-eye coordination with batting and, like cricket, like I felt pretty good at. Um, but yeah, I mean, like in college, I was the president of the ping pong club. So I love table tennis. Another hand-eye coordination thing. Just kind of like them all.
Nice. So if say you were to have a LPGA Caddy ping pong tournament, so I take it you would go in as a tournament favorite.
I would say no. Like we actually did have one a couple of years ago, and my friend and former roommate actually won. I beat him, but I had to go, so I let him take the victory, and he ended up winning the tournament. But there's plenty of caddies like where table tennis is a lot more prevalent. Like there's a lot of players too that are really good. I know like Amy Olsen was always really good, and like Frida. There's a lot of players that played on their national team as amateurs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Obviously, just get a you know player slash caddy tournament of any kind would be very interesting to watch. Like obviously, everyone's got different skill sets, like for different stuff as well. So I think that would be quite. I think to watch that would be quite intriguing just to see, who won at the end and stuff. But yeah, so I take it on tour out with say ping pong. I take it. What else do you kind of like to get up to? Like so in terms of like other games and stuff. Is there anything that's really popular? Like everyone seems to be. I think I think nowadays it seems to be a new craze for. I think it's paddle or something. Like yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
paddle.
pickleball and paddleball.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do quite a bit of that as well. Like it kind of depends on where you are for the week and how accessible it is. Like, usually like in Asia, there's not a lot of that. So it's more of like, you got to eat, maybe explore you know, the botanical gardens and stuff like that. And it depends on who you travel with. Like, some people, you know, want to do certain things and other things. We play a lot of cards. We'll play like Monopoly Deal a lot in our free time. But um, yeah, like I know in Arkansas, we'll play pickleball or paddleball, sometimes, basketball, go to the gym. Um, and then if it's a place we haven't been to, we try to, do something, local that's, memorable or go on a hike or something like that.
Wow. Imagine going to a new, tournament or whatever and having a challenging game of Monopoly. Like that sounds crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you have so much new that sometimes it's nice to have something consistent like you could fall back on. Like, you got all this new food, like Asian food. If you're used to eating like American food, then you at least have something that feels like home to you. Something that you do, you know, all the time.
So, in terms of your own golfing journey as well, did you ever have the opportunity to, go either semi-pro, amateur? Did you have what it took?
Yeah. When I graduated college, I turned pro. But I kind of went like a different route than most people. Like I kind of started working at a golf course as like a teaching pro, assistant pro, and then tried to make my game better as I went on. And then I actually got into caddying pretty soon after I moved to Florida. So I went to college and then moved to Florida. And then a year and a half after I moved there, I started caddying. So I kind of was learning from the best players in the world, how they prepare, how they practice while still working on my own game. Like I still have aspirations. Like I know I don't have enough time to prepare and to be as good as I want to be, but I've always had a goal to make enough money that I could just take a year off and just play golf and just see how good I can get, knowing what I know now versus had I done it the first few years, like I wasn't good enough. I didn't know how to practice. I didn't know how to prepare. I didn't know how to manage a golf course properly. So I think there still is an opportunity there, but it's always kind of a goal and a work in progress, just trying to be as good as I can be.
So if you said, well, so if you had to, as you just said there, say take a year off and go play golf at like 3 golf courses, what would be the top 3?
That's a good question. I would probably pick one in Wisconsin. It's a course called Strawberry Creek. It's one of the I played it once when it first opened. Then I played it again years later, and it was in the same exact condition, like brand new. It wasn't a divot anywhere. It's kind of like an American Links golf course, but it was just in really good condition. Um, then I'd probably like to play like one of the famous courses like Augusta or Pebble Beach, like with good weather. That would be nice. And then maybe something, in the Northeast, like one of the, I don't know, like your Pine Needles or Pine Valley or one of the Tigers courses, Payne Valley. Well, I mean, there's so much good golf out there. Like, it kind of really depends, like, who you're with and how the weather is, and if you're playing for anything. Like for me, it's like a lot more enjoyable to be playing for a score than it is to just be playing it because I'm happy to be playing it. Like, I like that, like competitive, like full intent and trying as hard as I can.
What would you say is the most, well known / popular course that you've managed to play yourself?
I've played Whistling Straits. I've played quite a few in Scotland that are pretty well known, like Western Gales, Troon.
Carnoustie?
I caddied there, but didn't play it. I would say I've caddied at more nice courses than I've played for sure.
I guess that's part of the job, but at the same time, you're like, I kind of want to play as well,
Yeah, it's a little bit depressing sometimes when you're like, ugh, man, especially if you get on a pristine private country club and, everything, not a blade of grass is out of place. And you're like, man, I can't even hit a putt here. So,
No, that's very interesting. Like, what was Whistling Straits like? Obviously, it's a very tough golf course, isn't it? So, just to play that, what was that like?
so when I played it, it was in October. It was a high of 50 degrees. There was a frost delay in the morning. It was like 30, 33 to start the day. I was wearing rain pants and snow pants, and a rain jacket and like 3 sweaters. Um, and then, the wind coming off the lake, it was a very cold day, but it was super cool because like in a tournament condition, like you don't really care about the weather that much. Like you're just focused on scoring versus like if you were just out playing with your buddies, you'd probably think about, not playing. So it's definitely a difficult course. So you gotta, once again, if you know where you're hitting it and your short game's good, like, you're going to score on any golf course. But if you're struggling, then it gets, exponentially harder there.
I was just thinking, listening to that just there, that, you just mentioned, like snow, well, pants / trousers if you're British. No offense. So, like, snow pants and stuff like that, and like 3 sweaters and stuff like that. I mean, you would love living in Scotland, mate.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what people say. Like when you're from like a cold climate, like people are like, oh, you're used to it, and it's like, no, like we just know how to like prepare for it. We still don't like it. So now living in Florida, my blood's thinned out a little bit, and I still don't like cold. So now 60 degrees Fahrenheit is cold for me. But I know how to dress for it.
Oh, that sounds crazy to mention. 60 degrees is too cold. Like, obviously Fahrenheit, but like it's too cold. Like, obviously for us, like a sunny day would be like, 15 degrees Celsius, or I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but I mean, that's like a nice summer's day for us. Like, it's that cold. Like in the winter there was like a couple of days where it was like -2, -3. I'm like, God, this is so cold.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably raining too.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to snowing, raining, wind, yeah, you name it, all in the one, and -1 as well. It's like, well, have you ever been in -1?
Yeah, I mean, in Wisconsin, like there was days where the wind chill would be -40, And you know, three feet of snow. Yeah. So I got out of Wisconsin as quick as possible. As soon as I graduated college, I left to try to never see snow again if I could help it.
-40, you having a laugh?
Yeah, we never would have snow days like because they were prepared for snow, but like because people walk to school, we'd have cold days. Like if it was under like a -20 wind chill, like they would cancel school because you know the people that walk to school would get frostbite within 2 minutes. I think.
Okay, I retract my statement. I do apologise. I didn't realise you got. I didn't realise you had -40, like in some ways. So you mentioned that when you went to Florida about a year and a half after you went to Florida, you started caddying. So obviously you're a professional caddy now. But how did that start as well? So, like, who kind of took you under your wing at first?
Yeah, so I was working in the golf shop, and this girl came in wearing Wisconsin Badger gear. That's their biggest, university in Wisconsin. And I was like, "Oh, did you go to school there?" And she's like, "No." And then I was like, "Oh, are you from there?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, why are you wearing it?" And she's like, "Oh, it's one of my host families gave it to me. I play golf on the LPGA Tour." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm one of the pros here. If you ever want to play golf, let me know." So we started playing golf together, for probably the rest of, that summer. And then the end of the season, she had 4 tournaments left and her dad had been caddying for her. And she asked if I wanted to come caddy those last 4 for her. And she did pretty well. She took 30th the first week I caddied for her. And then she missed the middle 2 cuts by 1 shot in a row. And then the last tournament, she took 4th. And that was really good. That kept her card because she had been struggling. And then the next year, she asked me to do it full time. So I did it for 2 more years for her. And that was Heiji Kang. She's been on tour for quite a while.
As a caddy, like when a player misses a cut, like what's the sense of feeling like? Obviously, I can only imagine they're frustrated at themselves, etc. I don't want to say they'll blame it all on the caddy, but like in the heat of the moment, like I take it sometimes, it can get a little bit heated.
Yeah, it would probably depend on like how much they missed the cut by. Like if they missed it by 1 shot, like they could find something to blame it on. If they are clearly just not playing good golf, then they probably own it. And it really depends on player. Like, some players would never blame their caddy and they take it personally and hold themselves responsible. And then you'll get players who blame the caddy for everything. Which like I understand, like it's a way to maintain your own confidence. Like if it's not your fault, you can still, maintain your own confidence and just be like, oh, if I had a better caddy, it would have gone differently. So like, cause confidence is huge in golf. Like if you lose your confidence, it takes a long time to get it back. So whatever you can do to hold on to it.
So when you first started out, so I know it's a long process for learning like the proper ins and outs of how to be a successful caddy. So like in terms of like the yardage books and wind directions, grass grain and stuff like that, like how long did that roughly take you to kind of get used to that? Well, obviously with you playing, you probably know a little bit of that already, but like when you're trying to learn like as a caddy as well, like how hard is that?
Yeah, as a golfer, like most of the stuff is more common sense and you pick that up pretty quick. But what the hard part is like learning like the players and then like going from like men's golf to women's golf is also very different. Like shots that, I can hit, they can't hit, or like the way that, the rough affects the golf ball, like flyer lies and stuff like that, is completely different, based on their attack angle and their speed. Like a shot that I would say, like, this is definitely a flyer. Like I would club down 2 clubs, like they might hit it and it comes out dead and doesn't fly at all. So stuff like that is where I struggled the most was like like reading the lies and how it affected their golf ball versus like mine. Cause that, at first you're like, oh yeah, like this is how I would hit that shot. But, it doesn't necessarily affect them the same way. So that I would say took me the longest. And then like when you work with one player, you kind of learn like, oh, this is how they like it. This is what they want you to do. As soon as you get a new player, they might be the exact opposite. Like they don't want you to do any of that. Like they want you to do something different. So that is just kind of like, it's more so like how you are as a person. Like if you're good at like reading and picking up things from people, then it goes quicker, which I would say I'm fairly good at reading people. So I would say the learning curve wasn't too drastic, but like with each new player, you're going to have, something that you got to figure out how they like things done and stuff like that.
Yeah. And what's like, obviously you've been doing this for a few years now, but what would you say is like maybe one of the toughest experiences that you've had to endure as a caddy? Like, it could be from anything. It could be a certain week. It could be, a certain performance from a player. What would you say is the kind of like one of the toughest?
I think there could be like a couple of different examples. Like there's one time where like I had a player where I was helping her read the putts and like we were reading them good all day. And then the last hole we disagreed on the read. Like I think I saw less break, she saw more break. And it was one of the ones where it's like we had to make it to make the cut. And she trusted me, so she went with my read and ended up missing the putt. And like that I took personally. I was like, I felt like that's my fault. Like, and what you learn over time is like, you can't blame everything on one shot in golf. Like it's never that one shot. Like there's 17 other holes before that where you could have picked up one shot, but most people just remember that last one. So, just as a person, you got to remember that it's bigger than just that one shot. Like I gave her, 17 other good reads, if that read happened on the first hole and versus the 18th hole and we were still one short, then, I wouldn't have felt as bad. So it's kind of like a perspective thing that you got to learn. They're not necessarily mad at you. They're just disappointed in the result. And like, you got to not take things so personally because it can affect how caddy going forward. You might be more hesitant to give out information. You become just more agreeable and go with what they say. So that way you don't feel like you're blamed for it. And then maybe that's not good for either person because now you're just kind of doing what they see and maybe they're not seeing it good. So you got two people seeing it wrong versus, at least you got a chance at seeing it right.
And so on the golf course, how would you kind of describe your own way of like going about the golf course? Would you say that like in time of need that you're vocal enough, to challenge stuff and stuff like that? Like obviously all caddies are different, and as you just said there, like some of the caddies might be a little bit more, hesitant to, challenge calls and stuff. Like I take it you're perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, obviously situationally, like they're like if a player's playing good, like you really don't have to do much. So like that's the situation comes up more like if they're struggling. And that's where I would say caddy is the most important. Like, cause if they're struggling, they're already not thinking clearly because they're probably, having negative thoughts about their golf game at the moment. So like that's the time where you want to step in more versus if they're playing good, you might not like the club, but if they're playing good, they probably have an idea of what they're going to do with the shot to make it work. So I would say that's kind of more so when I would step in is if they're struggling, they probably want more help to kind of give them just a clear decision because they're probably got a lot of thoughts in their head already. So just one clear thought would be where I would step in the most, I would say.
And say that your player is also struggling, etc. Like obviously you still got to navigate the golf course like every step of the way with them. Like, do you try like obviously I believe it's key to try and keep their spirits up, but at the same time they might not want you to like try and constantly say oh everything's going to be all right etc. Like just keep going blah blah blah. Um, I take it. I take it. Sometimes that can get tough, when your player is struggling. Obviously, trying to find the right words to say.
Yeah, like that goes back to like reading people. Like some people, when they're angry, want to be left alone. Some people, when they're angry, need to be distracted with something else. Like, so I usually try to just keep the routine. Like, I don't like to change too much. Like, I'll just ask questions. Like, I usually just ask questions that are unrelated to golf. And usually that kind of gets them out of whatever mode because they're thinking about, something different. And then we go back to the routine and it kind of helps like kind of reset the process a little bit. But there's definitely people who you could be afraid to say anything to because they're super angry. And then there's people who, let it go quicker. So it all kind of depends on their personality and, how good you are at reading it. And sometimes they just tell you like, hey, like, I don't want to talk right now. Just keep it simple.
So I know you've only done 3 events with Jenny, and you had just over a year with Lexi Forsterling. What were the main differences, would you say, between the two? Like, obviously, I know people will probably know that Lexi's a 4-time Ladies European Tour winner. I think it was in the space of 12 months as well, which is very impressive. Um, she went over. She went over to the LPGA last year, and at times struggled a little bit to adapt because the standard of play there, the level of play, an average score is probably about maybe two, 3 under, like that's what you kind of got to do, like on the LPGA tour. And, like at times, probably Lexi was even 1 under, she's thinking that's probably a good score. Um, so what would you say? What would you say, like in terms of personality and all other stuff, differences wise are between the two? Because like obviously, I think Jenny Shin she's quite entertaining, but at the same time, like at but at the same time, at sometimes it feels like she might not be, um, as nice if things aren't going too well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So like I would say the biggest difference between the two would be like the knowing what they want. Like Jenny has been around for a while. She has her routine. She like I could, just show up to any golf tournament and know when she's going to be on the range or when she's going to be on the putting green. Like, cause she keeps that same routine, very predictable and she's confident in her own golf game. Whereas, with Lexi, being every golf course was a new golf course. She didn't know any of them. Like she didn't know where the practice facilities were. It was more of like she was trying to figure out what to do each week. Like she didn't have that confidence of like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go clubhouse, do this practice, and then after the round I'm gonna go to my favorite restaurant. Like so she was kind of in a more of like a figuring things out part of her golf career. And then also with the feeling like, she didn't know anyone out there really. Like she had a lot of friends on the LET and didn't really know that many people on the LPGA. So it's a different dynamic. Like, LET is a friendly tour. Like everyone gets along, like, cause the purse isn't so high, but on the LPGA, everyone has their own routine. You don't really change your routine to accommodate others. Like, if someone wants to play a practice round with you, if they want to play at 11 and you want to play at 10, then you guys don't play together. But on the LET, that you adjust your schedule probably to play with your friends. Because people are more selfish of their time on the LPGA because they're, it's a job and they want to do that. But LET, I feel like it's more enjoyable, which is what, Lexi's first kind of experience of professional golf was. So she kind of got that as her intro to golf, and then getting to LPGA is very different mindset. So that was kind of like a shell shock for her, I would say.
Yeah. So just speaking on Lexi there, so like how did that kind of first come about where you ended up meeting with Lexi and then obviously discussed about, caddying going forward, etc. Just before like we kind of talk about that as well, like just going back to the standard as well on the LPGA tour, like there was a few weeks of the year last year where like you see Lexi near the bottom of the leaderboard, and you're thinking this is a four-time LET title winner. You know what I mean? It's like, and she's like really struggling. I'm like, this is crazy. It's just like you would think. You would think, obviously, with the amount she's won in such a short space of time, that she'll kind of be okay at that level. But that's not how it works, really, is it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that go on. Like she won an LET event in Florida, and we were in the final group with Charlie Hull and Carlotta Segunda, both ranked in the top 20 or 30 in the world, and she beat them in the final round to win. And one of the biggest differences is like they're only 3 round events most of the time. Um, you're you're not comparing yourself. Like what happens is like LET, there's probably not a lot of leaderboards out there. Like you just see it when you get done. But like LPGA, like you can see every 6 holes. If you're in the afternoon, you can check out and see someone shot 8 under in the morning. If you play the first 3 holes 1 over, you're like, oh, I'm 9 shots back. It's playing really easy. Like, and you start kind of forcing things. Like, there's more pressure on yourself, I think, on the LPGA for sure, just because you compare yourself to the other golfers more. Because like that's your peers now, and your peers are all, really good golfers that are really focused. So it's definitely hard um, if you don't keep your mindset to just focus on your own game and playing the best you can.
Yeah. So, how did like the opportunity with Lexi come about then? Um, Obviously, at that time she would have been just about in the midst of a successful run on the LET. Is that right?
Yeah, just before she got her first win, I was I was in Evian, and then I was going to be working the British, but my player wasn't playing the Scottish in between, and she was going to stay over in the UK. So rather than flying back to the States and coming back, I was just going to stay and play golf in Scotland anyways. So we have a caddy chat. I just reached out and said I'll be there anyways if someone needs a caddy. And actually, Carlotta, her boyfriend James is her fiance now. He knows Lexi pretty well because they practiced at the ASU facility because Carlotta went there as well as Lexi did. So he had knew her, and he's like, "Hey, I got a girl that's looking for the Scottish. She's great, And he kind of set us up for that week. And she played okay. She just struggled on 1 hole and chipped it across the green a few times, so she missed the cut. But like, she was a good player; you could see it. And then she went on to win maybe a month or two later, her first time. And she had gone to Q school and did well the first 2 stages. And I just reached out and I was like, "Hey, you're looking for a caddy for final stage?" And eventually she asked me to caddy for her for that. She got through and got her card. So I thought she had a lot of potential because we started the year, I think in February, and she won on the LET again here in Florida. So I stuck with her for the year just because I saw a lot of potential in her, and she had been playing good golf.
So, for those that don't really watch the Ladies European Tour as much as the LPGA, so obviously you were on the bag for just over a year. How would you describe Alexandra Forsterling's like game, like in terms of what her strengths and weaknesses are? Like, how would you kind of describe that?
When she's playing good, she's like a robot, like a lot of the German players. Like she would hit 10 balls, and all 10 of the balls would be within 2 yards of the same carry number with that club. So it was easy to caddy for. Hit it pretty straight. The ball just kind of fell left a yard. Very simple. Like I would say her chipping was probably her weakness, but that got better, as the year went on. Spent a lot of time working on it. Um, but she had a little injury in the middle of the year with her neck, and then her ball striking kind of struggled for a little while. So then she had to rely on her short game more. So that's part of the reason why she wasn't finishing as well. Like she didn't have, like she's used to hitting 14, 15 greens around. And then the courses on the LPGA being more difficult, more challenging. It's a little bit harder to hit the greens. That made her weaknesses kind of stand out a little bit more because, golf in on the LET, the courses aren't as, pristine. Like the fairways aren't as tight, greens aren't as fast. So you get away with, you know, chipping, you're chipping out of, the ball's teed up. It's a lot easier to chip. So a lot of her, weaknesses got exemplified because, LPGA is playing much nicer golf courses a lot of the time, nicer condition wise, I guess.
And even though you don't work together anymore, are you still in contact at all? Like in terms of say she has a good week, I take it you would just say well done and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I would, tell her, congrats, she's playing well. I still want her to succeed. Like I would say, like every like player caddy relationship's a little bit different. Like usually, even if you stop working for them, like unless something awful happened, like you're still gonna see each other every week. So you keep it pretty cordial.
Yeah, and I think this year she'll be going back to the LET. I think in
Yeah,
terms of the like
yeah,
obviously because she's had much success on the LET, she'll get majority of the starts on there. So.
yeah. With the win, you get 2 year exemption. So she's set for the next 2 years. Like her goal should be to finish in the top 7 on the order of merit because that gets you into all the majors. On the like, it's not all the majors. It gets you into the British and the Evian and the Scottish. So that gets you LPGA points. Like if your goal is to get back on the LPGA, that's probably the best way to do it. And world ranking points, if you win, gets you into the US Open. So
So onto your recent job now with Jenny Shin. How did that come about? Because I mean, like I believe that you're good friends with her now ex caddy as well, Fraser Riddler. So I take it I take it was a case of like maybe Fraser put a word in that obviously you were looking for a new bag, etc. Like how did that come about?
yeah, I spent a lot of time with Fraser. We traveled together, so a lot of times we were of course same time. So I got to know Jenny pretty well that way, and he would you know tell me about his day and whatnot. So got to know like how she was on and off the golf course from his perspective. But most of the time, I just saw him, on the TV finishing in the top 10 and like saw that she was playing really well. And we got along pretty well. So I just actually just reached out to her and told her like, I'm available starting next year if you had any interest in working together, and she said, yeah, I'd love to, kind of do a trial and see how it goes, see if we fit. And she actually was one of the first players who like kind of told me what she wanted out of a caddy or what kind of person she was looking for. And like a lot of times you don't know like what you need from a caddy, like especially when you first start out on tour, because in amateur golf you don't have a lot of caddies. You're by yourself most of the time. So learning to work with someone else like is kind of a learning process for them as well. So she kind of told me what she needed and kind of described me pretty well. So I told her I think it was gonna work well. So we did a trial, and after the first week, she's like, "All right, I want you to do it full time." So must have went pretty well.
So in terms of when that happens, say that player demands or what like player demands what she kind of expects, etc. Is that is that at first like when she's going over that? Is that like quite daunting as well, knowing like if if you're not aligned, it might very well not work.
For me, I would say no. Like I'm a pretty like I would say adaptable person. Like it really comes down to like are you willing to, make changes to better, the situation? Like, and that was kind of one of her things is she wanted, a caddy that wants to do better, like, is willing to make changes to, improve the team. Like, sometimes, you got an ego and you want to be right and they want to be right. And that doesn't really help either of you. So like, if you're both willing to be right together versus like being just happy that you were right with the club and stuff like that. So not super daunting for me just because I feel like I'm good at adapting and reading people and understanding what they need. And I don't have a huge ego. So I'm happy to take the back burner to, be successful as a team.
Yeah, and I think with Jenny being pretty much a LPGA Tour veteran now, I think like obviously with that, I know, I know obviously she's won before, but like obviously with her trying to get another win, trying to proceed and do well, and well, trying to get that second win near enough. It's yeah, it could be good going forward for sure. Obviously, any job takes time. Like you probably know that as well. Like, it's like that with most jobs, to be fair. But how confident are you that it could be a very successful season this year in 2025? Like, obviously, it was unfortunate she had to withdraw from Singapore with the virus and stuff, but there's plenty of other tournaments this year to, get your ranking points up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super confident she's gonna have a good year. It's something you can see like when a player's playing bad, like for their standards, like how they score. And like I would say Jenny didn't play her best and was still shooting under par, every day, which was, that like as a caddy, that's great. Like if you can shoot under par, not playing good, that means like when you're playing good, you're going to be, really under par. Like she gets up and down from, places that you shouldn't get up and down, that makes my job a lot easier. Cause like, I don't have to be as like, I don't know, cautious about club selection, stuff like that. Cause if I give her a confident club or yardage and she makes a good swing at it, even if it's wrong, like I feel like she can get up and down. So I can be more assertive in what I'm saying versus being like hesitant, like, if this goes long, like that's a tough up and down. So people read that like that hesitance, and that doesn't, make the player confident. So by her being really good with her short game, like that makes it easier for me to be, good at my job.
So there's a whole caddy network. Like, I think I can't remember what it's called from the top of my head. It starts with a P. Was it the PLTC? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like the whole caddy network. So just going on to this next part. So in terms of like, so who would you say out of the whole the whole caddy association? So in terms of like, who's the funniest? Like who's the best, say, best cook and stuff like that. Like, so in terms of like the funniest, like who would you say is the funniest caddy on tour?
I would go with Colin. He caddies for right now for Celine Boutier. Um, I got to spend 2 years ago. His player and my player were dating, so we spent a lot of practice rounds and traveled together a lot because they were inseparable. But he's funny. He's got that that English humor, very dry and like is more of like I'm laughing at him than laughing with him. But I would say he's one of the most enjoyable people to be around.
Who would you say has got the best taste in music, if you had to mention?
Oof, best taste in music. I'm probably not good at answering that because like I don't have very good taste in music. I just kind of listen to whatever's on. Um,
So you're ruling yourself out of this one.
yeah, definitely not me.
No, fair enough. Yeah, if you had to, well, I think I know this answer, but if you had to have a permanent travel buddy, like to travel the world with, who's it going to be? I presume Riddler would probably be up there as well.
Yeah, Fraser is a good one, and then Josh, my buddy, he's also from Wisconsin. I kind of got him started out here caddying, and usually I'm traveling with him, and then Fraser stays with us anytime we're all at the same event. So those two would probably be best choice.
You're either in a time of emergency or you're stranded on a desert island. Like, what caddy of the whole association are you picking to save you?
Stranded on a desert island. I probably
It could be literally anyone.
Yeah, I might go with Fraser because he was a bus driver for many years, so he's got good map skills. So he'd probably figure out how to get out of there.
I mean, it feels like, it feels like it could be a little bit of a Fraser Riddler loving at the minute, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. I try to keep him on my good side.
Nah, that's fair enough. I mean, he is Scottish at the end of the day, so you know what a Scots are like.
Yeah, yeah.
And say you were to go, like, obviously, like, to a restaurant or whatever, like, who are you taking?
Probably same two people because we all like Italian food. Like I'd say spaghetti is probably one of my favorite meals. So Fraser's happy to have that, and Josh is happy to have that as well. Um, I'd say Josh is probably a little bit more like explorative in his food choices. So if he was going to be the one to pick, maybe I wouldn't pick him, but he would definitely tag along if I told him, what I wanted.
Who's the fussiest eater out of the whole lot? Like, that you know?
Probably me. I'm pretty boring plain. Like I'll try anything, but like if I'm ordering it, it's going to be very plain. I avoid getting food poisoning that way. But also I was a picky eater as a kid, but it happens to be to my advantage now when traveling to foreign countries.
So, so in terms of like different colors on a platter, it's going to be very beige and boring, and
Yeah, unless it's fruit. Like you can have colorful fruit. I love fruit.
so not many green stuff as well. I don't know vegetables, man.
I mean, I eat vegetables and fruit, like, but it's more so like I don't really like saucy food. Like if it's got a lot of sauce on it, I try not to have too much of that. Like I actually like my meat dry, because then it's cooked. I know for sure.
Oh,
But
Ryan, come
but
on.
I'll eat it however it comes. Like I've never sent any food back, but like if it's my choice or I'm cooking it, like I'll make it how I eat it normally.
So I'll finish with two questions for yourself. So in terms of your favorite golf course in the whole world, what is it?
That's a good question. I think I would probably say the course I grew up on, just because I got so many memories. Like it's not, there's nothing fancy. It's not in the best shape. It's just, I lived across the street and I grew up on it. It's the Rivermore Golf Club in Waterford, Wisconsin. Um, I would say that just because of all the memories and the history, and I played it so many times. Like I could play it in my sleep right now. Like I wouldn't shoot a very good score, but like I know where every tree is and whatnot.
Wait, actually, speaking of scores, what's your lowest ever score? Like lowest ever round
I've shot 64 a few times.
on just your local course, or
Three different courses in Florida. I used to work at them, so I played them every day, so it made it easier. But there's three courses at the same property, but yeah. And lowest tournament score was 66, I think.
and to kind of wrap it all up, like, so obviously as a professional caddy, part of the job is to travel the whole world. What would you say is your favorite country in the world?
That's a great question. I would say like it kind of depends on like what you're going there for. Like if I'm going there to play golf, um, like I think Scotland's a great play. Like there's always like you're gonna get different styles of golf. It's very affordable. But like for like Like I just went to Australia for the first time, and like I really like the Sydney area. It was super easy to get around, plenty of things to do. Um, but like overall, I think I'd have to go with the United States, just because within the country you're going to get so many different like climates and different types of elevations and stuff like that. Just because it's big, like you get a little bit of everything, um, and it's home. Feels like
I
home.
don't, I don't know if you can see my disgust in the background, just shaking my head like, come on, there's no home like home.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, other than the United States, like I've had good experiences in Canada, just like because it's similar to the United States, but like the people there are great. Like, there's plenty of places I'd like to go. Like Switzerland's great. People are nice, very beautiful. Like it really just depends on what you're going there for. Like if it was on like a holiday versus like if I'd want to work there, if I'd want to live there, kind of just depends. Like because you don't really know until you actually live there if you enjoy it, and what are the other like, is it more expensive or stuff like that. So
Did you do the Sydney Skywalk?
I did, yeah. Climb the
What was that
bridge.
experience like?
Uh, it was something that you do once and never have to do it again. Like I mean, it was cool, but you're really just doing it to take a picture and get the view. Which really everything is nowadays is just to take a picture of it and say you did it, kind of thing. But the view was great. We had good weather.
Were you scared?
No, I mean you're harnessed and you got a clip to a wire the whole time, or to a pole the whole time. So, and you're pretty far from the edge, like where the walkway is. So it's really not that overwhelming.
I mean, to be fair, I'd still be shitting myself, I think, so.
Yeah, but you're in a line with 15 people and you're all, strapped in basically to each other. So you're not alone and, abandoned up there. So I think it'd be all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as a kid, I was okay, but say over the past decade or something, when it comes to heights, I'm like fucking hell. I'm like I'm shit scared. Honestly, I don't know what it is. You
Yeah, I mean,
develop fear after a while.
yeah, I mean that happens with golf too. Like when you're a kid, like you'll hit a flop to the green, you have no fear, and then when you're an adult, you start thinking about like, what if I hit it bad? Like this is going to be 100 yards over the green if I blade it. And like it's that fear that makes things more difficult. So I think it's just as older you have more experience, so you understand the consequences more. So you start thinking about those instead of just enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's life, to be fair. So
Yeah. Plus, with the internet now, you see all the videos of people flying off roller coasters and planes crashing. So all of a sudden you're like, that's possible now, which you didn't think of when you were a kid.
and on that morbid ending there, it's time to end. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on and taking time to come on. I do appreciate it. Like, I not only try to speak with LPGA Tour and LET players. Like I've had quite a lot of success with that, but like I also try and get I'm on the inside of professional caddies like yourself. I mean, I've had the likes of Big Ginge, like Alex. I've had him on. Had Jack Clark on. And Scotty Leonard as well, who is with Ingo at the minute as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it's nice to speak to the caddies as well and try and get their side of the story.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Craig.
All the best for 2025 with Jen, and hopefully it's a good one.
Cheers. Hopefully it warms up for you.
Right, mate. All the best. Cheers.